Let's go! All rise. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Mathis, the sports judge. I'm shocked. I'm stunned. I keep thinking about it. I can't believe what happened out there. The Philadelphia Eagles dominated on both sides of the ball, winning 40-22 on Sunday night. This is an Eagles football team that is really good. It's maybe the most talented football team we've seen as a complete roster. There's not many weaknesses, and they proved yesterday that they're the best team in the NFL. This was the one team that got a big enough lead where it wasn't just one score where Mahomes couldn't be clutch to win the game. Patrick Mahomes' performance was dreadful. It was a disaster. And of course, Jalen was going to be a monster in that offense. They're the most run-heavy offense in the game, and it makes Jalen Hurts even more dynamic, even though he had his moments and had some rough patches during the regular season. And so you have him, and you got Saquon, and then the defense was just suffocating, completely shutting down Mahomes. I couldn't believe how they shut down Patrick Mahomes. The Eagles defense had his number all damn night. I don't think not one time they even blitzed. This was complete domination. If you had told me a week ago when we were doing our predictions that the Eagles would crush the Chiefs, I would have looked at you like you're crazy. I would have said you needed to be drug tested. If you told me this was going to happen, I would have laughed at you. What a complete and utter meltdown. This is the kind of loss that broke their backs. That whole agony of defeat thing. When you get throttled the way the Chiefs did, and look, they're still in the midst of a dynasty, but when you get blown out the way they did, it feels like a hard slap to the face. And like I've been saying, and I believe this all season watching the Eagles, they bully you. They punk you. They smack you in the face. And that's exactly what they did to the Chiefs. They punked them. They made them look bad in front of the entire nation with everybody watching. It's one thing to lose, but to lose like that, that's a different kind of pain. It hurts like sitting on a bicycle without a seat. It hurts. Worst feeling when you spend the whole week preparing for this moment. You worked so hard to get to this point, and then you get your backs blown out. This was a disaster. Disaster class by everybody involved Sunday night. Obviously, I was like everyone else on earth who said this was a close game or that it would be, a competitive game. My jaw dropped after seeing how that game played out on Sunday. I saw this, I was like, unbelievable. You gotta be kidding me. I'll tell you this, the Chiefs, as we know, are a good team. They just had a bad night. It was just weird, and none of it made any sense. I don't even think I've seen a moment where Patrick Mahomes was rattled. It was just an unusual outing. This was probably the game when I fully realized he wasn't normal. There was nothing in that game last night where you can say he was the GOAT. It was so weird and boring. The Chiefs got their asses kicked. It was by large an awful game. The biggest thing about this team on this particular night was that they beat themselves for once. The pick he threw to Cooper DeJean might be the worst decision I've ever seen from Patrick Mahomes. And from one angle, it looks as if the ball would have been way behind his intended receiver even if DeJean didn't pick it. That particular play was the turning point of the game. Back-to-back sacks of Mahomes flushed him out of the pocket, and then a Cooper DeJean pick 6 on his 22nd birthday. Incredible. DeJean's role in this game was massive for a rookie. My impact player of the game, for sure. The relentlessness, the pressure. Josh Sweat gets a great push on the ball. Gets a great push on the bull rush, which forced Mahomes to rush the throw. Zach Braun barely has to move to make the interception. Makes an enormous play to give the Eagles an instant red zone opportunity. And what a story Braun has been. He spent 4 years in that very same stadium as a special teams player who couldn't really find his role in the Saints defense. Jalen Carter moving like he's 250 pounds. He's a freak. Immense pressure from the Eagles had Mahomes in panic mode for much of the night. It was really impressive what the Eagles did with 4-man D-line pressure all night. That's what we saw throughout the year. Vic Fangio, and not just this year, but he's made a career out of disguising coverages, using nuance, variations to keep opponents guessing. Fangio was on point with his plan and calls. Great execution. You have to have a great defense, a great plan. The Eagles have the best defensive line in football. It's the best defense in football. They're exceptionally well coached in the secondary. They got guys who can play man-to-man. In that game, relying on their front four, the Eagles generated 16 pressures and sacked Mahomes 6 times, the most in a game in his career. Just such an uncharacteristic game from the Chiefs. Again, seems like Mahomes was tired. He looked uncomfortable. He just couldn't buy enough time to find the open receiver. The offense was so out of sorts, and they never really got going on that side of the ball. Philly's defense really had them boys locked up. Mahomes was shook. I can't believe how bad he was. We can do a whole show about Mahomes' career, and it won't really matter because a loss like this puts a dent in his legacy. I'm still going with Brady in the GOAT talk. But Mahomes, I changed my mind. I think we spoke too soon, and now we can pump the brakes on Mahomes being the GOAT. We want to be ahead of the pack, so we want to be ahead of the pack so bad, but won't let his career play out. And I do this a lot as well. I rushed to call him the GOAT after the Chiefs won 2 in a row. I was too fast to say he was the next GOAT and that he could one day be greater than Tom Brady. This is why we can't say he's the GOAT. Not after what happened last night. I'm not saying he doesn't have the credentials to be the GOAT, but it's premature to crown him the GOAT when he had a performance like that one last night. I'm not diminishing what he's achieved because he's had an unbelievable career up to this point. But what keeps me from saying he's on the same level as Tom Brady, what we witnessed last night was a meltdown. When you look at the record books, we're going to say he's the best quarterback of his time, but obviously Jalen had something to say about that as well last night. Again, I'm stunned at how the Chiefs looked completely out of sorts. This was not the same lucky, skilled, clutch Kansas City team from the regular season and even the playoffs. This team was unrecognizable. There was nobody on that offense who could provide a much-needed spark to give them at least a little bit of life. Their lack of discernment was very telling. just not your typical Chiefs game. They didn't play up to their standards. Last night, guess what? The most balanced, the most complete roster in football played like the best roster in football. It was over by the third quarter. Kansas City had no real shot beating Philly. You got to see why the Eagles, on paper, were considered the better team. The offensive and defensive lines were physical. This was a revenge game. And quite frankly, the Eagles wanted it more. They were the best team on the field. The scrutiny is never ending for Jalen Hurts, but it needs to. Hurts wins games. His presence alone, his performance in the Super Bowl speaks for itself. And once again, Jalen silenced his critics with a strong passing performance. It wasn't an accident that he was named the Super Bowl MVP. When you throw for 221 yards and rush for 72 and account for 3 touchdowns, to me, you're deserving of the MVP honors. Clearly, outside of the defense, Jalen was the best player on the field. You know how easy it would have been to call him out had they lost? Regardless of what took place during the regular season, he was damn near perfect and cemented himself in Birds history forever. I got to tell you, it was perfect. Everything. Probably the best performance of his career when it mattered. Feels like this was Jalen's Super Bowl moment. He was dialed. He was seeing everything. I don't know why he gets left out of the top 5 conversations when he's won games and games when they matter. And what he proved with his game is that he's a big gamer. He's in a conversation that Joe Burrow is not in, that Lamar Jackson is not in, that Josh Allen is not in. He has a Super Bowl championship on his resume, and yet it feels like he gets constant disrespect. The best thing is that with everybody watching, Jalen Hurts came up big in the biggest game of his career and in a game where he had a bevy of great plays. I think this is the one that officially silenced his critics and ended the debate on if he's elite. Last night showed Jalen didn't need Saquon to carry him. He got it done. And Philly's defense was a nightmare for Mahomes and the Chiefs. Say what you will about Jalen Hurts, but he showed up and balled. Phenomenal Super Bowl win by the Eagles. And instead of talking about history, a three-peat, we're talking about the Eagles beating the crap out of the Chiefs. And Jalen Hurts was the recipe, right? This reminds you, in a good way, what Jalen is capable of, and that he can outplay Patrick Mahomes or anybody in this league when it means something. It wasn't what I thought. Mahomes was awful. Hurts was really good. I mean, you would have thought it was the other way around. He outclassed Mahomes. It was the worst game if you're a Chiefs fan. It was the best game if you're an Eagles fan. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles on winning the Super Bowl. Thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate the love and support as always. You guys have been great to me. I'm finally back in my comfort zone. I'm back at home. I'm doing videos in my car again. Yes, I do videos in my car to avoid a lot of background noise. I don't really have a studio yet. I would like to get there, and I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to get the sound quality working and everything. Everything's gonna eventually work itself out. It just takes time, right? But guys, it's been a pleasure. I'm out of here now. I hear a little bit of background noise. I think a gardener's on somebody's street cutting grass. I can hear it a little bit in the background. Hope that wasn't too much of a distraction for you guys. But guys, I'm out of here now. I had to talk about the Super Bowl. I traveled home this morning and I finally had the opportunity to talk about it. But guys, thanks for watching. You guys know where you guys can find me. Please subscribe to the channel and please follow me on Instagram, SportsJudge85. It's your boy checking out. Peace.